This movie has a lot of nature in it. I'm a dinosaur from planet X, and now it's time for a movie review. This movie starts with a short song called The Virginia Company about a bunch of English people going to Virginia on a ship. Some of the crew on the ship talk a lot about how they think this blonde guy, John Smith, is cool. Then this big guy, Governor Ratcliffe, shows up wearing a purple suit with his little pug dog named Percy, and you could just tell right away that this guy is a tool. The ship gets in a big storm, and this red-haired guy named Thomas gives John Smith a heads up that the cannons are just like rolling around the deck, so John Smith helps secure them. Thomas gets thrown overboard by the storm, but John Smith ties a rope around himself, jumps into the ocean, and saves Thomas. Okay, yeah, I can see now why the other guys say John Smith is cool. Then Governor Ratcliffe comes outside with his assistant Wiggins and the dog. Ratcliffe gives a pep talk to the crew and says a lot of blah, blah, blah about how they're all going to be successful in the new world and not even a bunch of savages are going to stand in their way. Yeah, I don't like this guy. I'm getting the feeling that he's racist and allergic to doing work. You know, like everyone else on the ship who are running themselves ragged while he was just chilling in his cabin. Oy vey. So the new world is, as it turns out, not new at all. It's a place where a lot of Native Americans live. They may not have big ships and some of the other things that the English have, but they've got their own civilization. There's a song called Steady as the Beating Drum about introducing the Native Americans tribe. They're farming and playing lacrosse, and the women are welcoming the men back home from war. Except Chief Powhatan is like, hey, where's my daughter? This old guy medicine man named Kekata says, well, Pocahontas tends to do her own thing. Pocahontas is a free-spirited girl who likes to have fun with her best friend Nakoma and her animal friends Flit the hummingbird and Miko the raccoon. She eventually comes home and her dad Chief Powhatan is like, hey, how about that Kocoum guy? He's a great warrior and stuff. Pocahontas is like, I don't like him that way. He's just really serious. Then Pocahontas goes off with Flit and Miko and sings a great song called Just Around the River Bend about how she's got a sense of adventure. She wants to explore and be flexible. It would be easy to just do what her father wants and marry Kocoum, but then she's tied down and can't go have fun anymore. Maybe Pocahontas eventually finds a man that's right for her, but looks like Kocoum is not that guy. It is what it is. Pocahontas goes to talk with Grandmother Willow, a willow tree that talks. At first I was like, huh? There's a tree that talks? But you get the sense that Pocahontas is like at one with nature since she prefers being in nature and exploring instead of hanging out in civilization and doing like human society stuff. Pocahontas tells Grandmother Willow that she's had this vivid dream about a spinning arrow. Grandmother Willow points Pocahontas in the right direction, and Pocahontas sees strange clouds, as in the English ship. On the ship, Governor Ratcliffe goes all like moo-ha-ha about how they're gonna get gold, and I'm like, I wonder if this guy is evil. Governor Ratcliffe brings John Smith in, and he's like, hey, John Smith, I'm racist. You're gonna help me with being racist if that's what's needed to get the gold, right? And John Smith's like, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. And I'm like, what? I thought John Smith was cool. So John Smith and some other guys from a crew take a rowboat down the river, and Pocahontas looks at them from a ledge up above. She's like, since John Smith is handsome, I guess. But now I'm like, hey, Pocahontas, you gotta be careful. John Smith may not be like as aggressively racist as Governor Ratcliffe, but he's still down to fight your people in order to take stuff from your land. But then John Smith is nice to Miko. Interesting. Seems this John Smith guy has several good traits and one very bad trait. I wonder if there's something that could make him get rid of the really bad trait. Back at the village, Kekata warns Chief Powhatan and the people of their tribe about the Englishmen and how they could be a big problem. Then there's a funny bit where Miko goes on the ship and trolls Percy the pug, invading his bath and eating his food. It's pretty funny. But then Governor Ratcliffe sings an evil song called Mine, Mine, Mine about the crew digging for gold and making him rich. Apparently, Governor Ratcliffe has dreams of returning to England as a super rich guy, ladies liking him because he's rich, and somehow becoming king because he's rich. Hey, Governor Ratcliffe, you gotta have supporters if you want to be king. Otherwise, if you say, do this, do that, then people can be like, no, and then it won't go so well for you. Meanwhile, John Smith takes part in the Mine, Mine, Mine song too from a different angle. He looks at the land as being a playground for him to explore. Not great. While he's exploring, John Smith stops by a waterfall and sees Pocahontas in the reflection of his helmet. He immediately assumes he's in danger. Pocahontas is curious, so she goes down there to spy on him some more. John Smith pops out with a gun ready to shoot, but he sees Pocahontas and he puts his gun down, and he's got that look on his face where you can tell he thinks she's pretty. His attitude completely changes like immediately. He takes off his helmet, goes over to introduce himself, but Pocahontas runs away because she's scared too. They try to talk with each other, but they don't speak the same language. John Smith catches up to her and shows via body language that he wants to get to know her, and the wind swirls around Pocahontas and him in a way that makes her feel safe, like getting to know John Smith is the right move. I'm very interested to see how this goes. So Governor Ratcliffe is walking around eating, and Wiggins is trimming bushes into hedges, and a couple of native guys from the tribe are watching from the forest, probably thinking, what the heck are these guys doing? They're just making a big mess. Governor Ratcliffe orders the crew to shoot at them. Thomas gets spooked by the sudden attack order and accidentally trips and shoots his gun at nothing. One of the native guys gets hit, and Kocoum carries him out of there. Governor Ratcliffe berates Thomas, and Chief Powhatan tells the tribe, do not go near the English people. Tensions are escalating, you guys. But Pocahontas and John Smith have no idea. They're just hanging out, figuring out how to communicate, and getting to know each other. There's a funny bit where John Smith tries to shake hands, and Pocahontas and Miko are like, we don't know what that is. Pocahontas shows a different type of greeting where she waves her arm in a circle and says, Wingapo. Flit is not about this budding Pocahontas-John Smith situation. He knows exactly what's going on, but Miko seems cool with it. Pocahontas asks John Smith what it's like back in England, and what's interesting is that John Smith doesn't seem to realize that his response is really condescending. He's like, oh, we can teach you how to use the land better because you're doing it wrong and you're savages. So, of course, Pocahontas is like, hey, you're an idiot, dude. Bye. I mean, what did you expect, John Smith? There's a word for this kind of behavior, and that word is you're being racist. Pocahontas climbs up the tree, and John Smith tries to follow and apologize, but he falls and goes bonk. He seems to realize he screwed up, so Pocahontas sings another great song called Colors of the Wind about the importance of being in tune with nature. Pocahontas shows John Smith that there's more than one way to do things, and there's a lot that she doesn't know. Now, she didn't have to do that, but the fact that she did shows that she was willing to give him a chance, and it looks like she got through to him. John Smith clearly feels closer to Pocahontas after the song, and he's changing his attitude. John Smith goes back to the English encampment, and he seems different. He's not enthusiastic when the other guys on the crew talk smack about killing the native people. Pocahontas seems different too, and her friend Nakoma calls her out on it. Pocahontas and John Smith are now sneaking off together in order to hang out with no other people around, since everyone's being told not to hang out with people with a different skin color. Pocahontas introduces John Smith to Grandmother Willow, and he's a little weirded out at first, but to his credit, he rolls with it and says hello. Things are going well, until two of the English crew are walking around nearby with guns. Thankfully, Grandmother Willow sends them packing, but John Smith is like, yeah, I should go. That was too close. Pocahontas gets back to the village and is disappointed to see that her dad, Chief Powhatan, has brought another tribe's chief and warriors over to hang out, and they're preparing for war. Pocahontas says, Dad, what if one of them wants to talk instead of fight? And her dad's like, nah, it's not that simple. Hey, Powhatan, it actually is. People like John Smith. Governor Ratcliffe's just the money guy. John Smith gets in trouble with Governor Ratcliffe when he tries to persuade him not to attack the Native Americans. John says, hey, Mr. Purple Suit, there's no gold here, and this is their land. But Governor Ratcliffe says John will be tried for treason and hanged if he doesn't fall in line. Then Governor Ratcliffe sends Thomas to spy on John Smith with an order to kill any Native American person he sees, and Nakoma snitches on Pocahontas to Kocoum. Not good. Pocahontas and John Smith rendezvous and talk about how to bring peace to everybody. They have a moment and kiss, and of course that's when everything goes bad. Thomas and Kocoum both see the kiss. Kocoum attacks John Smith, and Thomas shoots Kocoum, so Kocoum is badly injured. Thomas has to run away, and John Smith is captured and accused of shooting Kocoum. Chief Powhatan doesn't listen to Pocahontas at all and sentences John Smith to death. Nakoma goes to Pocahontas because she feels bad about snitching. Hey, Nakoma, this is why they say snitches get stitches, because of stuff like this. To be fair, they probably didn't have that saying in the 1600s though. Also, gotta be honest here, this is Kocoum's fault when you think about it. It was pretty clear what Pocahontas and John Smith were doing. Looked 100% consensual to me. Sorry, dude. She's not in a relationship with you, so if she wants to kiss an English guy, that is none of your business. Now John Smith is captured and Pocahontas is very upset and everything is bad. Thomas returns to the English encampment and tells everyone that John Smith has been captured by the Native Americans, and Governor Ratcliffe is like, ooh, nice. Now I have an excuse to kill the people whose land this is. He sings another evil song called Savages, where he's rallying the English people to war. Chief Powhatan and the Native Americans sing that song too, since they've got their excuse to attack the English people. Pocahontas goes to Grandmother Willow and she's upset and doesn't know what to do, but she looks at a compass that John Smith gave her, and that thing puts the wind point towards John Smith. So she's gonna go and try to stop John Smith from being killed and stop the battle from happening. Pocahontas stops Chief Powhatan from executing John Smith, and she makes a speech to the Native Americans about rejecting the path of hatred. Chief Powhatan sees the wind then and vows to release John Smith and not be the one who starts any killing. Governor Ratcliffe really wants there to be a battle though, since he is a racist war profiteer and like the ultimate scumbag. The other English crews say, nope, we're not attacking them, screw this. So Governor Ratcliffe tries to shoot Chief Powhatan, but John Smith jumps in the way and takes a bullet for the chief. So the English put Governor Ratcliffe in chains and have to take John Smith back to England so he can get health care, since the Native Americans at this time have little to no experience with gunshot wounds. Pocahontas says goodbye in the native way. John Smith does too as he leaves, and it's sad, but you get the feeling that everybody learned something, except Governor Ratcliffe. Some people out there are selfish and just don't want to cooperate, so they commit inexcusable crimes, and that's too bad. But hey, you know what? That's why we got a little thing called prison! Usually I would hesitate to recommend a movie for kids that involves racism and hate crimes, but I think this movie's about more than that. It's not just saying don't be racist, that's bad. It shows the audience a situation where people who think they know everything about the world learn something new. Also, love is something that can unite people instead of dividing them. Love is not about having the same skin color as somebody else or being from the same place. It's about two people forming a connection and supporting each other to do good things. So I think this movie is good for kids.